Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaura Pramanande. Thank you, Prabhu. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 We could sing the next two verses together, the Sanskrit and English, please. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devyam sarasvatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer obeisances unto the Spirit of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesha abreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyan Timurandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshuranmitiham Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with a torchlight of offering. My respectful obeisances to him. Okay, what I'd like to do is go right into the focus verse, and we'll read it in the purport, and then we'll go over the 20 verses that we're going over today, and then we'll end up with some comments, and then we'll go into discussion. Please. Yes, chapter 11, text 27. Hare Krishna. Can somebody give me the meter here, please? Thank you. Tom, it works? What's the other one? Okay. Tameva mritam amritam tata devam
Tameva mrityum amritam tata devam
sarvatmanope jagat parayanam
Sarvatmanopehi jagat parayanam
yasmai balyam vishvasarjo haranti
Yasmai balim vishwasrijo haranti
gavo yatavai nasidama yantritya
Gavo yatavaena sidama yantrita
tameva amrityam tata devyam
Tameva mrityum amritam tata devam
sarvatmana no pehi jagat parayanam
Sarvatmanopehi jagat parayanam
yasmai balyam vishvasarjo haranti
Yasmai balim vishwasrijo haranti
gavo yatavai nasidama yantrihatatya.
Gavo yatavaena sidama yantrita
Bolo, please.
Tameva mrityum amritam tata devam Sarvatmanopehi jagat parayanam
Yasmai balim vishvasarjo haranti
Gavo yatavaina
nasidama
sidama
yantrita. Tameva mrityam amritam tata devyam sarvatmanope jagata parayanam yasmai balim vishvasarjo haranti gavo yatavai nasidama yantritiha tameva mrityam amritam tata devyam sarvatmanopehi jagat parayanam
Yasmai balim vishwasrijo haranti Gavo yatavaina sidama yantrita Tata devam
Amrityam tata devyam
Sarvatmanopehi jagat parayanam
sarvatmopahi jagat parayam
Yasmai balim vishwasrijo haranti
yasmi balim vishvasarjo haranti
Gavo yatavaina sidama yantrita
gavo yatvai nasidam. Okay, let's do word for word together, please. Tam, unto him. Eva, certainly. Mrityam, death. Amritam, immortal. Tata, my dear son. Devyam, the supreme. Sarvatmana, all specs. Apahi, stranger. Jagat, of the world. Parayanam, ultimate goal. Yasmai, unto whom? Sharja, all the demigods like Brahma. Haranti, bear. Gava, bulls. Yata, as. Vai, without fail. Nasi, in the nose. Dhamma, by the rope. Antartita, control. Translation in purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear boy Dhruva, please surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate goal of the progress of the world. Everyone, including the demigods headed by Lord Brahma, is working under his control, just as a bull prompted by a rope in its nose is controlled by its owner. Before we go into the purport, who's speaking here? Yes, Manu is speaking, which is Dhruva's grandfather. Yes. Yes, and his father's, yes. And so Dhruva is killing all the yakshas, right? And so Manu is trying to pacify him, right? And now he's giving him some reasons why he needs to calm down or stop fighting. Okay, purport. The material disease is to declare independence from the Supreme Controller. Factually, our material existence begins when we forget the Supreme Controller and wish to lord it over material nature. Everyone in the material world is trying his best to become the Supreme Controller, individually, nationally, socially, and in many other ways. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to stop fighting by his grandfather, who was concerned that Dhruva was adhering to a personal ambition to fight to annihilate the whole race of yakshas. In this verse, therefore, Svayambhuva Manu seeks to eradicate the last tinge of false ambition in Dhruva by explaining the position of the Supreme Controller. The words mrityam, amrityam, death, and immortality are significant. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord says, I am ultimate death, who takes away everything from the demons. The demon's business is to continually struggle for existence as lords over material nature. The demons repeatedly meet death after death and create a network of involvement in the material world. The Lord is death for the demons, but to the devotees, he is Amrita, eternal life. Devotees who render continuous service to the Lord have already attained immortality. For whatever they are doing in this life, they will continue to do in the next life. They will simply change their material bodies for spiritual bodies. Unlike the demons, they no longer have to change material bodies. The Lord, therefore, is simultaneously death and immortality. He is death for demons and immortality for devotees. He is the ultimate goal of everyone because he is the cause of all causes. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to surrender unto him in all respects, without keeping any personal ambition. One may put forward the argument, why are the demigods worshipped? The answer is given here that the demigods are worshipped by less intelligent men. The demigods themselves accept sacrifices for the ultimate satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Srila Prabhupada in this first sentence says the material disease is declaring independence from the Supreme Controller. And this decision has put us in such a bad predicament, right? Why is this such a bad predicament? Anybody have any suggestions why this is a bum deal that we're getting right now? Dustin, you have any ideas of why this is such a bum deal, this independence from the Supreme Controller? Go ahead and use the mic if you want to.
The thoughts that are coming inside of my mind would be the false ego, which creates suffering. Thinking that, just thinking that it's all me and not Krishna is the center of everything.
Yeah, we're thinking that we're these bodies and that we are the center of everything and we're moving through the world like this, and then what is everybody else doing? They're thinking the same thing. And so we come in contact with each other and we have conflict, right? The age of Kali, quarrel.
Perfect.
Anybody else with any suggestions why this is a bum deal, this independence from the Supreme Controller?
It's just an illusion anyways. It's not even true. We
Oh.
just think that we're independent. And because we think that we're independent, we can never find our true happiness. But yeah, there's so many reasons, but that's the one that came to mind, is that it's like it's not even true. We're still dependent on the Lord. We're dependent on his external energy now instead of his loving internal energy. So
We're even illusion to think that we're independent. Wow. Yes, Prabhupada Priya.
Because life with Krishna is so much better than life without Krishna.
What's the, Premamrita mentioned that we're taking shelter of this external energy. So what's the bum deal in this external energy that we're enjoying with Krishna, and what's this external energy experience? By the way, I'm not looking for any answers. Just in case sometimes I go, is he looking for an answer? No, I'm just having a conversation about what's this bum deal, you know? One thing that came to my mind is that in the illusion, we think that we're this body, right? And as thinking that we're this body, we go through ups and downs. We go through happiness and distress. And eventually we get to death, right? And if we don't experience our death anytime soon, we're experiencing death of other people, our loved ones, right? One thing that Srila Prabhupada mentioned in this purport that I thought was interesting is that he said, where is it? Everyone in the material world is trying his best to become the supreme controller, individually, nationally, socially, and in many other ways. It's pretty interesting, right? I mean, automatically we think of selfishness as the self. But Srila Prabhupada explains here in Bhagavad Gita so many times that the conditioned soul is interested in their body and then all other forms in perspective of who I am and who they are to me. And therefore they're either on my team or they're not on my team, or they're my race or not my race, or they're my political party or not my political party. And we start differentiating, oh, these are my friends and these are my energies. I like this person and don't like this person. I was thinking we can go to the translations now, 15 through 27, and there's 20 of them. So if we could read, each person could read 2, that would be wonderful. And I do have some other comments here, so we might kind of go through this quickly. So if anybody comes up with a question or thought, just kind of jump in.
The creation of the material world begins with 5 elements. With the 5 elements, thus everything, including the body of a man or a woman, is created by these elements. By the sexual life of a man and woman, the number of men and women in this material world further increased. Further increased.
Go and do 2.
Manu continued, my dear King Dhruva, it is simply by the illusory material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by the interaction of the 3 modes of material nature that creation, maintenance, and annihilation take place.
So Manu is speaking to Dhruva, and he's speaking to him a way to start to calm him down. And you might ask, well, why is he explaining the 5 elements and stuff? This idea of that just life comes from sex, and here we are, and we're 5 elements. It's because he's trying to calm Dhruva down to say that your brother has not died. No, what's gone away is these 5 elements. They've perished, they're gone and stuff. But your brother is still alive. He is a soul. Okay, 16 and 17, please.
My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. He is the remote cause of the creation of this material cosmic manifestation. When he gives the impetus, many other causes and effects are produced, and thus the whole universe moves, just as iron moves by the integrated force of a magnet. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his inconceivable supreme energy, time, causes the interaction of the three modes of material nature, and thus varieties of energy become manifest. It appears that he is acting, but he is not the actor. He is killing, but he is not the killer. Thus, it is understood that only by his inconceivable power is everything happening.
Srila Prabhupada has a nice analogy in the purport here of the electric powerhouse, or the powerhouse where electricity is coming from, and all of the energy is coming from the energy company, right? But once it goes out, it's being used in so many different ways, like to run your blender, or to start your microwave, or all of these different things, right? But it all comes from the same source of electricity to run these things. Okay, 19 and 20.
My dear Dhruva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is ever existing, but in the form of time. He is the killer of everything. He has no beginning. He has no beginning, although he is the beginning of everything, nor is he ever exhaustible. Although everything is exhausted in due course of time, the living entities are created through the agency of the Father and killed through the agency of death, but he is perpetually free of birth and death. The Supreme Personality of Godhead and his feature of the eternal time is present in the material world and is neutral towards everyone. No one is his ally, and no one is his enemy. Within the jurisdiction of this time element, everyone enjoys or suffers the results of his own karma, or fruit of activities. As when the wind blows, small particles of dust fly in the air, so according to one's particular karma, one suffers or enjoys material life.
Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport here that I can't remember which one it was, but that the devotees aren't so much interested in history of this world. We're interested in the creator and the annihilator. we're interested in what was the beginning and what was the end. And this is Krishna consciousness, knowing who is the beginning and who is the end. 21 and 22, please.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is all-powerful, and he awards the results of one's fruitive activities. Thus, although one living entity's duration of life is very small, whereas that of another is very great, he is always in his transcendental position. There is no question of lessening or increasing his duration of life. 22. The differentiation among varieties of life and their suffering and enjoyment is explained by some to be the result of karma. Others say it is due to nature, others due to time, others due to fate, and still others say that it is due to desire.
So sometimes we get a mosquito body, sometimes we get Lord Brahma's body. What is your decision? What's your desire? It's your body. Please.
The absolute truth, transcendence, is never subject to the understanding of imperfect sensory endeavor, nor is he the subject of direct experience. He is the master of varieties of energies, just like the full material energy, and no one can understand his plans or actions. Therefore, it should be concluded that although he is the original cause of all causes, no one can know him by mental speculation. My dear son, those yakshas who are descendants of Kuvera are not actually the killers of your brother. The birth and death of every living entity are caused by the Supreme, who is certainly the cause of all causes.
So Manu says, no one can know him by mental speculation. So Srila Prabhupada says in this purport that how can we come to know the causes of all causes? I mean, he uses the Dr. Frog example. I won't go into the Dr. Frog, but just we're so small. We have such a small perspective, How can we understand the cause of all causes, something so big, And how do we get to know of the cause of all causes? Yes, the spiritual master. Thank you, Krista. Okay, 25 and 26.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead creates this material world, maintains it, and annihilates it in due course of time. But because he is transcendental to such activities, He is never affected by ego in such action or by the modes of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supersoul of all living entities. He is the controller and maintainer of everyone. Through the agency of his external energy, he creates, maintains, and annihilates everyone.
My dear boy Dhruva, please surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the ultimate goal of the progress of the world. Everyone, including the demigods headed by Lord Brahma, is working under his control, just as a bull prompted by a rope in its nose is controlled by its owner. 28. My dear Dhruva, at the age of only 5 years, you were very grievously afflicted by the words of your mother's co-wife, and you very boldly gave up the protection of your mother and went to the forest to engage in the yogic process for realization of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As a result of this, you have already achieved the topmost position in all the 3 worlds.
Srila Prabhupada mentions that Manu was very proud of his grandson. He's only 5 years old, and it only took you 6 months to see the Supreme Person. Good job.
Therefore, my dear Dhruva, please turn your attention to the Supreme Person, who is the infallible Brahman. Face the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your original position, and thus, by self-realization, you will find this material differentiation to be merely flickering. Thus, regaining your natural position and rendering service unto the Supreme Lord, who is the all-powerful reservoir of all pleasure, and who lives in all living entities as the Super Soul, you will very soon forget the illusory understanding of I and my.
The whole world, the material world, is working under the basis of I and mine. How are you using I and mine?
My dear King, just consider what I have said to you, which will act as medicinal treatment upon disease. Control your anger, for anger is the foremost enemy on the path of spiritual realization. I wish all good fortune for you. Please follow my instructions. A person who desires liberation from this material world should not fall under the control of anger, because when bewildered by anger, one becomes a source of dread for all others.
Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport here that Dhruva is liberated, and he is not actually angry at anyone. Srila Prabhupada says, similarly, devotee is always non-violent. He is qualified with all good characteristics. We understand that devotee is always using his feelings in devotional service. It's not that he's angry or that I'm angry or I or my anger. It's how am I using this in the service of Krishna? Gokulukananda Prabhu. Oh, who has it? Oh, can you read the last three of them?
Last. My dear Dhruva, you thought that the Yakshas killed your brother, and therefore you have killed great numbers of them. But by this action you have agitated the mind of Lord Shiva's brother Kuvera, who is the treasurer of the demigods. Please note that your actions have been disrespectful to Kuvera and Lord Shiva. For this reason, my son, you should immediately pacify Kuvera with gentle words and prayers, and thus his wrath may not affect our family. Thus Swayambhuva Manu, after giving instructions to Dhruv Maharaj, his grandson, received respectful obeisances from him. Then Lord Manu and the great sages went back to their respective homes.
I think what's interesting in the last 3 ones is that Dhruv Maharaj didn't do anything wrong, really. It's explained that he was using his anger, he was doing his duty, actually. But because of his compassion and being told, he's like, okay, I should go check in. I should make sure everything is cool, So we can understand as devotees that we might be doing our duty, and we might be doing what is best for our service, but we should also check in with the devotees, right? And also being willing to be compassionate to them and understand their situation. So when I was reading through this, I was thinking about how this declaration of our independence is really putting us in an embarrassing situation, right? Because we're conditioned souls. And as conditioned soul, we talked about the bummer deal of it. And one of those is that we make so much mistakes and we're illusioned. We can't even see what really is going on. And we make mistakes even. We might see one illusion, we might see one thing as another. And in one way this happens quite often is through our communication. In our communication, sometimes we like to let our false ego get the best of us, and we start to interpret situations, right? But our interpretation is from our perspective, our illusioned and conditioned perspective, our illusioned and conditioned interpretation, right? So what we like to do is do what? This person did like that, and therefore they are my enemy. The person did like that, and therefore they are my friend. I did not like this, I like this. And so we get into this I and mine conditioned state. But one thing we can do, well, so you might hear things like, somebody might say, look how that person, we're talking together, the person's always talking like this and that, and they're always talking. They're so puffed up, right? Or the person's always talking about money, or they're always flaunting their nice dress. They're so material motivated, right? They're always speaking in this way of throwing slokas left and right. They're Mr. Know-it-all. So we do like this, right? We have situations where we see something and we start to interpret it, and it comes through our conditioning. So this can come out in the language that we use, and it can come in our attitudes. We start to develop attitudes from this language that we're using internally and externally. So one thing I would like to suggest is maybe instead of interpreting, we can adjust to observing. So we can observe by seeing things as they are, or report. Some people call this reporting, right? What's the difference, though? It's kind of hard to understand. Observing, interpreting. I shouldn't interpret. I should observe. So I got an example for you. So there was a school, and the principal and the teachers were having this big conflict, right? And so there was brought in a facilitator. Sometimes they bring in a facilitator to help conflicts, right? So the facilitator came in, he sat with the teachers first, and he said, okay, what's the problem? He said, he's got a big mouth. Okay, I can understand you think that he has a big mouth, but what is he doing? Well, he's always talking about this and that. He's always he's just so puffed up, thinking he's a Mr. Know-it-all. Okay, but what did they do? And so they went over this for a couple times, and the teachers were giving these interpretations. And so finally, he was able to adjust the situation and said, okay, well, what is he doing? And they finally understood, okay, one person spoke out, well, when we talk at our meetings, we'll mention a concern or a suggestion, and then Mr. Principal, he'll spend 10, 15 minutes speaking about how he once had this situation like this, and this is what that has to, giving similarities to the situation. And they would talk to 10, 15 minutes. Oh, okay, here's an observation. Here's something we can work with. So when we put ourselves into the situation of observing instead of interpreting, what it can do is it can help us to see the situation more as it is. And what that does is it allows us to start to look internally and start to observe our behaviors instead of interpreting this person and what they're doing and then interpreting it in a way that confuses us, actually. Because we're so conditioned to give interpretation, it can actually confuse our feelings. It can actually confuse us from our understanding of what's really going on. And what it really does is it confuses us of what our real need is and the real feeling that we're trying to communicate. So, to give another example, we could look at ourselves, and and I have a situation, I won't get it too personal because I don't want to embarrass anyone, but you could say, you're such a pig. That's an interpretation. What was the observation? Last night, we had pizza, and 7 out of the 8 slices you ate. Okay, now what can we do with that? Okay, that's a true statement. Out of 7 out of the 8 slices, my son ate. Oh, oops. Okay, well, what did that do to me? Well, I can start to look and see, well, what is that I needed? How did that make me feel? Instead of just going into these labels of he's my enemy, he ate my pizza, therefore he's done something wrong, blah, 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 blah. This does no good, actually. It really causes more conflict. But instead I can say, I really feel sad. I really need fairness. So next time when we have pizza, after you've eaten your half, can you ask before you eat my half, please? And therefore now I've given my feeling, I've given my need, and I've even asked my ask. Are you willing to do this? And what happens when we do this, we start to change our perspective from interpreting people as enemy or friend or bad or good. It starts to actually allow communication to happen. And when communication happens, we have a wonderful verse in Nectar of Instruction. Does anybody know where we might be able to turn to in Nectar of Instruction that explains this sharing between devotees? What does it say? Right? We're revealing our mind in confidence. This is how I feel, this is what I need, and this is my ask. And that person has the ability to hear in confidence and do what they want. Because as Srila Prabhupada says in that translation, we're doing this out of thank you, but it's when we go to goodwill, we give charity. Yes, thank you. We're giving out of charity. And when you do charity, you're not expecting anything in return. This is actually the opportunity to give unconditional love. So we want to go from conditioning to unconditional. So we want to go from conditioning of I and mine to unconditional of here, this is what's happening. And actually I'm doing it because I just want to have a better relationship and want to work things out. And I want to be able to have better loving exchanges. So therefore I'm putting myself out. I actually heard recently, be determined to actually say something because you care. How many things do we not talk about or communicate because we've had this experience of frustration when we communicate, and therefore we just don't do it? We actually go to a point where we just don't care, or we can call this the mode of ignorance, right? Just whatever, you know what, forget it. But if we learn to communicate properly and we come to the mode of goodness, we can start to observe and we can start to communicate in more of the mode of goodness. And we can allow relationships to grow with good communication and the unconditional love of I'm giving because not because you told me or you're going to punish me or because of this, this, and this. I'm doing it simply because I want to fulfill your needs. I do want you to feel, I do love you. I do care about you. Therefore I am, after 4 slices, I'm going to say, hey, I've noticed there's 4 slices left, or 3 slices left. You've only eaten 1, Dad. Can I have another piece? Sure, son. Eat that piece. Now I felt like, oh, I've given. There's a nice exchange there, you know? I might not even have cared that he ate the 7 and 8 slices. That's the amazing thing. We start to cause, because of our conditioning and labeling, he's my enemy, this. We start to even care about things that aren't actually important to us. What we cared about was getting our need met and the relationship with the person. And so this conditioning, this independence of Krishna has put us in a conditioned state that is putting us in so many distress and this bummer deal. And one of them is communication. So that was my spiel or suggestion or encouragement is to look how we're communicating. It's one way that we can look at our conditioning and say, hey, this is actually a very important part of our relationships and our life of observing in this mode of goodness and then being able to communicate without interpreting of enemy, friend, bad, good, pig, this, that, you know. Okay, we're at 8:17. I'm going to say that's pretty good. Anybody with questions, comments, thoughts? Please.
Prabhu, thank you very much for sharing honestly and giving the very practical lesson. It was very relevant for me. I was thinking that in the name of humility, in the name of, there's this verse, we should be humble like a blade of grass and tolerant like a tree, give all respect to others, and expect none for ourselves. So in the name of following this verse, I see how I can be avoiding difficult conversations. I'll just be humble and I won't say anything. But if I genuinely didn't care, it would be different. But I'm actually hurt. I'm actually disturbed internally and pretending like, oh, I'm very saintly. So I was hoping you could share perhaps more reasons why we don't go into these difficult conversations.
We don't usually go in these conversations because this conditioning of us wanting to be the center and others wanting to be the center causes conflict. I want this, and the other person says, well, I want this. And then we start to use violence against each other to try to get what we want. So this is our experience over and over and over. But the thing is we have to take responsibility. Able to respond. Response, able. We're able to respond. So if I'm 5% of the problem, then I'm going to take 100% of my responsibility of 5%. So then we can start to look at ourselves. If we start to observe more, we can start to see the things that we're doing to cause this violence. And we can make adjustments. We can't really change people. How should I say this? Our change that we make is done by the influence that we have through the proper, loving reciprocations with people. Nobody cares what you, I don't mean to be the, I was just thinking I'm becoming the slogan man. Nobody cares what you, nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. And so through loving exchanges without the desire to enjoy ourselves, this trust gets built. And so therefore then good communication can happen. So because of our conditioned state, we've tried to do these and we've had conflict each time. What do you yes. What do you think about that?
Hare Krishna. That is helpful to recognize that, especially I have a conflict-averse nature. So considering getting into a difficult conversation, which in my material life generally would be a source of fighting, conflict, argument, then I'll avoid that situation because I don't want to experience that again. But I've experienced with mature devotees, you speak with them and you bring up something difficult and they're very respectful and happy to hear you, and you actually see their good qualities manifest. So it's like an illusion that my mind is saying that this devotee will act in the same way that the competitive, cutthroat, materialistic people that I've been hurt by in the past. But so what you are reminding me of is I need to just continue to practice being honest in conversation and experience, see for myself the wonderful character of devotees who get these principles of communication that you're talking about.
The root is confidence. The root of this problem is confidence. And the wonderful thing is we start to talk to senior devotees and their confidence in Krishna is so strong that we start to rub off, say, oh, I have confidence that even if I make a mistake, Krishna will surely protect me. And because these devotees have so much confidence, they understand that, oh, I know that this devotee is working on their, and even if they make their mistake, I'm not so worried about their mistake. I'm trying to find the deeper need that this devotee is coming at to me with. So this confidence is really something that we need to build, that Krishna will protect us. He is there, that we can reveal our mind to those appropriate and be confident that Krishna will take care of it, that he's got me. You can say, Krishna loves me, Krishna loves me, Kalashanji loves me, Kalashanji loves me, Kalashanji loves me. And we can move forward and see what he does. Anybody else with any comments? I have another part of that I was really thinking about, but let's see if it, yeah. Kuntaya Prabhu, want to share something or reflections?
On the question that Brihmridanga Prabhu asked, why we do not approach difficult conversation, there are also different factors and considerations, like different people may avoid for different reasons or because of being of different natures. Like some devotees I know, they are conflict avoidant. They just can't deal with the conflict or the perception that there could be some conflict. There could be some confrontation and they just avoid. Others may doubt their skills and how to present. So some people create they draft in their mind what I will say. I will say like this, and it's never good enough. So they just give up. And as Prabhu was saying, it's important that if something really doesn't touch us, doesn't affect us, okay, you can forgive and forget. But if something remains inside, then could be very, very unhealthy. Also, some may avoid because of fear of escalation. Say, okay, I bring this up, and then the other person will bring something up. It will become defensive, and then the whole vibe will degenerate very, very quickly. So I would say, as a general comment, that there is no one reason. Depending on the person, depending on their skill set, depends on the interests. Some people may just feel it's a boring topic. Yeah, it's slightly disturbing, but it's just they don't want to get into it, or they don't feel it's their duty to really address the issue. So there may be a range of reasons.
Thank you, Prabhu. Good point.
So, Prabhu, I'm thinking now, if someone is in a senior position to us by authority structure or by age or by initiation, whatever, we might be, this is what I experience, I'm a little more averse to bringing something up because it feels disrespectful. Can you share, so what should someone do if someone senior to them does some behavior which causes some disturbance?
There's a couple things in here. First, we should understand who we are. Who am I? As Prabhu was mentioning, we should understand our duty. You know, my duty is like this. And so I was taking, so when our perspective is of a spot as leadership, and I have a duty to say something, then something that might stop me is my confidence. if I, there's, as Prabhu said, there's so many different reasons why we might be we might not get into that kind of communication. But understanding what is our duty, because sometimes a structure can be senior this way or that way. But if you're the temple president, who our temple president's like 42 right now, he's going to have to get into some conversations that maybe aren't palatable to some, in the sense of asking, or mentioning the things that are maybe causing some conflict or something like this. The thing that I've been told is that when we see somebody who's senior to us or an authority to us, in these different ways we look at as authority, is we can ask the question. We can come out of from a point of view of curiosity. Prabhu, I saw this, and this, my observation. Please, can you explain to me why you went about it in that way? Because now we've taken the assumptions of enemy, friend, bad, good, they did it wrong, they did it right, this, help me understand. Now I've come to a platform of help me understand so that I can see things more clearly. So this is a really good question. Come out from curiosity, give your observation, and ask them, please help me understand. Nisringa Rupa, Nisringa Rupa has a really good explanation of this. That one time when he was younger, he saw the temple president do something, and he saw, this is a really good way to go about it, is because it's a learning experience for us too. Like, what that devotee did it in this certain way, help me understand. Oh, okay, that helps me to understand. If I was in that spot, then maybe I should do like that. Or maybe, maybe still because of who I am, I'd do it differently. But at least it doesn't keep that in our mind of this person's wrong or they're mean, right? We start using these violent tags to these things when we don't. But like Prabhu said, sometimes, they might be something that easily is given up, out of humility, or just, what, maybe I didn't see it like it was. It's okay. If it keeps on coming up, usually that's Krishna in the heart saying, hey, we should probably take care of this. We should do something. We should take action, from my perspective. Okay, 8:30. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Pramanande Hari Hari Bo. Vanchaka Patrubhischa. Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha. Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Namo Namaha. Antikoti Vaishnava ki jai.